Top of the morning to you all, and happy St. Patrick's Day. I did not wear my green because my last name is Green. It's McGuire, so it works for me. As we get started here, I'm going to welcome you this morning to our staff development today and bring it up to you our acting superintendent, Kathy Marie. Oh, there she is. I thought she left.
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully everybody woke up without the earthquake and was up a little bit before, but to me it's also a great way to start our day today. And I just, Gary asked me if I'd say a couple things, and I'll be very brief. I just want to tell you how honored I am to be in the role that I find myself in today. And I'm here to assure you that we are moving as a district towards a service model. We are going to be people that focus on integrity and honor. And so we'll continue to work together. It's not going to be any fancy slogans or anything like that. It's just going to be pure care for one another and doing a better job of making sure that people know the outstanding place that we work in. And that's my goal, that's my dream, that when people talk about Temple City, that there's no question in their mind. I've told some people, this is a cupcake district. It's small, it's sweet, it's light, but it has so much texture. And that's really my dream, is to make sure that everybody within and without talks about us in terms of the quality that goes on here. But I assure you that we will be transparent, I assure you that we will be honest, and I assure you that we will serve. And I ask the same of you. And I'm confident that there are great things ahead. We have some of our city officials here who are poised to do great things with the city as well. So I'm excited, and I appreciate your support. I appreciate all of you that said that you're praying for me because I need it. And lastly, I appreciate the Emperor family freeing me for a while to do what I feel called to do. So thank you. Thanks for being here this morning. I'm excited. A number of us started working on this after the Sandy Hook occurrence, and I was involved as the elementary rep. And Gary's done a great job. We started talking just about tabletop exercises, and then because of our great community partners from all different walks of the community, we were able to work with them, and they said, well, let's just make it a training exercise. And so our goal is when we walk out of here today, that we not only have a good understanding of what we would do to protect ourselves and our students, but just to be people out in the community that can assist others in that regard. So thank you for your commitment to this district, and I look forward to working and serving all of you. Thank you.
The rest of our morning is with the tactical team from the LA County Sheriff's Department. Come on up, guys.
Good morning. How is everybody? Good. My name is Jim Grady, and this is my partner, Herb DeRoche. We work the Tactics and Survival Training Unit from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. And I've already had the question asked, how come this says hospital staff? And I'm going to explain that to you right now. Some time ago, we were going to talk about the history of how we came to currently teach our enhanced active shooter strategies. We'll have a little bit of history on that. But specifically about this, I'd say last year, we got asked to do something for the general citizens. We put a lot of emphasis into what do we do how do we teach our law enforcement officers with like LA County Sheriff's Department, with outside agencies, how do we teach them to deal with an active shooter program? And one of the things that was lacking is, well, what do you folks do? And you're going to see here in just a few minutes, the first 4 to 8 minutes is the most critical part for you. And so we put together a PowerPoint presentation, our very first one, and we have gone and revamped it. And I spoke at the School Safety Summit in 2013, and they said, you got 20 minutes. And 20 minutes, so I had to take our PowerPoint presentation, compress it down to 20 minutes. And then jump forward, we had a whole new animal, hospitals. Hospitals, they have their own issues that you as administrators and teachers don't have. And so we had to put something else together for the hospital staff. But at the end of the day, a lot of what they have to do is the same thing that you guys have to do. And so we looked at it and we said, well, we have 3 different PowerPoint presentations, this being the best of the 3, because this is all still relatively new. So we said, we're going to go with this one. So suspend the fact that it says hospital staff up there. We won't all be doctors and nurses after we're done. But you will get some of the same information, actually the very same information that the hospital staff gets. And that'll be it. Hopefully, by the time you're done with this, you'll have a new outlook on how you can survive this. And one of the things that we talk about is this is empowerment. Okay, so that's where we're going with this whole thing. All right. If you have questions, feel free to ask. We do not have all the answers, so we will try to find an answer for you. If we don't have one, we'll find one by the end of the day. If not, both Herb and I come from the school of MSU. Makes stuff up. No, I'm just kidding. We won't make anything up. We will find you a correct answer. Okay? Fair enough? All right. So let's get into this. Surviving the first 4 to 8 minutes. That is absolutely critical. When you think about this, we're going to get there. Okay, we will. But it's going to take us a little bit of time to get there. Unless you get really, really lucky and we happen to be right around the corner because we're patrolling right around the corner. But that may only be a 1 or 2 man unit. So it's going to take a little bit of time for us to get everybody there that we need, 4 to 8 minutes. So there are things that you can do to survive the first 4 to 8 minutes. Absolutely critical. You've got to have a plan. And we talk to our guys about this all the time. Pre-planning is absolutely imperative. You've got to think about this, and you've got to have a strategy. You've got to talk to your partners, talk to your peers. Hey, what are we going to do if something like this happens? And what are we going to do if it happens over on one side of the school or the other side of the school? How are we going to handle this? Where can we go? What are our safe routes, etc.? So we've got to think about this and plan it out ahead of time. And the big thing right there, as I said before, this is empowerment. You do not have to be a victim in this, okay? So how did we get here? Brief history. You know, you'd be surprised, or maybe not surprised, at how many active shooter incidents happen, okay, throughout the United States, and certainly throughout the world. There's lots of them at schools, at hospitals, et cetera, et cetera. Pre-2011, we used to use what we call immediate action. Immediate action basically meant that the first 2 to 4 guys that got here, they bailed out the car, they floated up a team, and they would handle business. And that's kind of what we do now, but we took it and we basically put it on steroids. Because what we looked at is that what we were originally doing didn't quite cut it. And you guys, for those of you, how many people are going to stay and watch this or participate as role players? Do I have anybody in here that's said no? Some of you. For those of you who are here, who do witness this, you're going to see a lot of stuff that is pretty amazing when you see these guys go through and work, okay? We took lessons learned from Beslan in 2004, from Columbine, from let's see, Mumbai in 2008, all the lessons learned, and we put this together to form what everybody else calls MACTAC, LAPD calls MACTAC. Our sheriff didn't exactly like following suit with LAPD, so we had to come up with a different name. We had some great acronyms, and a lot of the acronyms I can't share with you. We couldn't exactly put them out there, we thought they were great, but we came up with enhanced active shooter strategies. Let's talk about Beslan real quick. Okay, active shooter event, Chechen terrorists go into Beslan, Russia, and they wind up taking over a school. Okay? And we started looking at this and we started saying, okay, well, you have all these terrorists that come in, and who do you think the first person was that they did away with? School safety officer. Right? They shot the school safety officer. Who do you think was next? Anybody know? All the men. All the older boys that were of any type of size that could present a problem for them. Okay, so they killed them all outright. That left the younger boys to use it as a workforce. That left the women, adult and children, okay? And they herded them into the Jambazian, imagine that. And they set up explosive devices on either side, and they booby-trapped a lot of the doors and windows and so on. So it made it very, very difficult for law enforcement, the Spetsnaz, to get in to take the place back. I'm going to go through kind of a Reader's Digest version of this, but suffice it to say, this 3-day siege that went on was pretty gruesome for the ladies and children that were left. There were some really horrible things that happened within the confines of that Jambazian, okay? And so we looked at this and we said, this is not just a hostage taking, and I'll give you a quick example. A hostage taking, we have a bank robbery, an alarm that goes out, okay? And one of our guys comes around the corner, happens to be right around the corner. He comes around the corner, he sees the bad guys coming out the door, they see him and they go, oh no, it's the cops, and they run back inside. That's a hostage taking, right? Okay, what's their motivation? Get away, right? Get the money and get away. They will negotiate. And we're not going to go in and do anything. We're going to try to negotiate and get them out peacefully. We're not going to do anything unless they start killing people. We coined a new phrase after Beslan. It's called a hostage siege. And a hostage siege, their express motivation and interest is to get as many people as they can together to kill them. Period. Negotiation out the window. What they are looking to do if they're negotiating is to stall to get the media there so that they can splash this all over the news and get whatever their message is out to the world. So we're talking about a pretty nasty situation, right? In the case of Beslan, one of the lessons learned was the idea of a hostage siege. We have to act, okay? We have to act quickly, we have to act decisively. If it's just a basic hostage taking, then we'll surround, contain, and we'll try to negotiate to get people out peacefully. The other thing that we looked at also was the fact that the Spetsnaz, you had Alpha and Benpool, they didn't work together, and they didn't really like each other too much. So, because they didn't work together, and yet they were forced into a situation to work together, it didn't work out as well as they wanted to. So we looked at, in our training model for our people, is getting law enforcement from the LA County Sheriff's Department, from LAPD, from Glendale, from Pasadena, all these different agencies together to train together so that if, God forbid, we have to deal with this type of event, we can come together and have the same sheet of music and get through this as safely as possible. 2008, Mumbai, India. One of the lessons learned there, and actually was a lesson that came back around again, is that groups didn't work so well together. So again, that just strengthened our resolve that we were going to get law enforcement agencies to come in and help out and be able to work together seamlessly, or as seamlessly as we could. Another thing we looked at here, another term that came out, was a symphonic attack. And in a symphonic attack, you're talking multiple locations being hit at the same time. Imagine your school being hit here, and at the same time Satellite Pier being hit. Downtown Hollywood and Highland, right? We have Robin's Chinese Theater down there, we have a hotel, et cetera, et cetera. In Mumbai, they had multiple locations that were hit at the same time, so resources were spread very, very thin. So we had to look at all this and we had to say, okay, well, again, we don't have time to wait for the SWAT team to come in. And in that particular case, we have to act, and we, in essence, are that SWAT team going in and taking care of the problem. Okay? So we got together, and we had a think tank. It was LAPD, LASD, Las Vegas Metro, and Orange County Sheriff's Department, school police, and we said, how can we make this better? What can we do to train up our people? And by the way, as we go on and we progress through this, we brought in fire department personnel, because one of the things that we learned, another lesson learned later on down the line, with, let's see, it was Aurora, the theater that was hit. There was a problem with bringing fire department in an expedient manner to get people out, to get to critical care or definitive health care. So we started looking at that, and that's another thing that you're going to see today is a more seamless operation, bringing the fire department in to help out with this major event that we've got going on today, okay? So we got together with all these different entities, and we came up with MACTAC. And we borrowed from the military small T tactics. There's a paradigm shift for law enforcement here, because the idea of what the military does and what law enforcement does, it's all becoming a very blurred line anymore nowadays. Military, they're taking a lot of police actions, right, overseas. Law enforcement are taking something more akin to military type actions here because of the threat that we have to deal with. I'm going to back up here for just a second, because when I first started teaching this material, I like to say that there were two very kind of overall broad umbrellas that we looked at. One, we have the nut job. We have the person who is bullied, they're put upon, we have some kind of mental problem. Generally speaking, it's a high school kid. It is somebody in their 20s, what have you. What do you think? What do they usually do when they come in and they start shooting up a place? If they're doing it they're seeking retribution, right? They're going to take it out on people that they think did something wrong to them. What is it they usually do when we come on scene? They usually kill themselves, right? Okay? And then we have the other umbrella, the extremists, for political, religious, some kind of ideology, well-trained, they are generally financed, they are well-armed, they have a plan. And those are the folks that are most dangerous for us. They are the terrorists, the extremists. And so we train our people to that level. But make no mistake about it, it doesn't matter whether they're the extremist or they're the crazy person, it is still a terrorist act. The end is the same. People are dying. We say time is life. We have to get in, we have to take care of business. As law enforcement, we have to neutralize, stop that threat before more people die. Okay? We came up with, as I said, our boss didn't like the idea of MACTAC, probably because LAPD came up with the version. So we call it EASS, or Enhanced Active Shooter Strategies. Back in 2011, we got it post-approved. It is a post-approved course, so when law enforcement agencies come to us, when our people go through our 8-hour training program, they get post-credit through the state of California. Anybody who's ever had to deal with bureaucracy such as post, they will understand that it's a nightmare. I hope there's nobody from post in here. If there is, you guys put me through hell for 2 years trying to get this thing certified, so it is what it is. All right, so we looked at Sandy Hook, that was in 2012. More lessons learned. As a matter of fact, I was very fortunate, one of the teachers from Sandy Hook was actually at the symposium, got to talk firsthand. And, some of the things that we look at that we would think would be a good idea, we might need to rethink. And where I'm going with this is that, you know, we talk about hostage siege when the bad guys take a bunch of people and they sequester them in an area. What we want to make sure that we do, or don't do, I should say, is take a bunch of our students and run them off to a place that might seem like a good area, but if we can't fortify it, if we can't make it secure, we may be taking them to lambs to the slaughter, okay? So things that we have to think about. So I'll go back over these real quick and I'm going to hand it over to her. Columbine, 1999, surrounded and contained. That was a lesson learned that we learned in Columbine. Typically, police 101, if we have a situation like this, we surround it, we contain it so that it doesn't go any further, we call for SWAT, they come down and do all their magic. But as I said, time is life. We have a duty to get in and take care of, neutralize the problem if we can connect the dots and they are actively killing people. We can't wait. And we learned that the hard way. I say we, as a law enforcement body, we learned that the hard way with Columbine back in '99. And by the way, those two, I can censor myself every now and again. Those two individuals, their game plan was to put explosives in the cafeteria, blow the cafeteria up, and when anybody who saw it came out there and shoot them down. The explosive devices didn't go off. And so they came and started putting people down with gunfire. They had some 30-ish, 32, 36 unexploded devices throughout the school. The idea that these are two high school kids that came up with this stuff is pretty amazing, pretty frightening actually. But you can well imagine if there was an actual terrorist group that had actual training and financing, how much worse it could have been. Best law in Russia. This was that training group. We talked about the hostage siege. And by the way, that's 1,100 hostages, 318 killed. Something that is maybe a little different in Russia, from what I understand, Russia, or the first day of school is like Christmas in Russia. Everybody, the whole family goes to take that child to school on the first day of school. It's a big, big deal. And it's the reason for so many people there. Okay, so there was a lot of folks there, and that's why. Different police units working together. Virginia Tech, a lone gunman. We learned something there too. We couldn't get in, and I say we as a law enforcement group, we had a very difficult time getting into the location. The old style crash doors, crash bars to get indoors. That was what they had at Virginia Tech. They have since, in fact, I went back for a debrief and they had changed out those doors to the newer type. But what Joe had done was he took a chain and a padlock and threw those around the old style crash doors. It made it very, very difficult for us to get in. Something so simple, so low tech, that made it difficult. An interesting side note about that, there was roughly 2 weeks prior, they had 2 different bomb threats. They suspect that it was Cho that slipped in those bomb threats. At the final haul, one of the doors, he put a note on the door, on the inside. Said, do not touch these doors, they're rigged to an explosive device. There was a student that came out and saw this, and I guess they were late to their class or what have you, ripped the note off in disgust because they thought it was another prank bomb call. Wadded it up, threw it on the floor, and went back to their class. Didn't say anything to anybody. And very quickly thereafter, all of a sudden, the shooting started. Whoops. Guess they were wrong. We'll talk about this in a bit, but when you start to think about these things, you all know what is accurate, what's correct, who should be, who shouldn't be, who's acting strangely. You see folks on a daily basis. Don't ignore little things. I'm not saying that you have to be hyper-vigilant. I'm not saying you have to be paranoid, but pay attention to what's going on. Don't take things for granted. We'll get more into that as we get to the PowerPoint. Mumbai, India, as we said, multiple locations hit simultaneously. The need for law enforcement to become involved in small team tactics and upgrading firepower. You know, it's kind of interesting too, and I hope I'm wrong about this. We've seen it happen twice now in the last year. China, was it last week, I believe, with the knife attacks. Everybody has a kitchen knife. Everybody can get a hold of a kitchen knife. And how many people were killed? I think the final tally was 30, someone, I believe. Anybody know? I know it was up there towards 30. And 109 plus injured. Just because you don't hear gunfire if you see somebody with a knife in hand, they are as dangerous, if not more dangerous. So we tell our people, we've got to pay attention to what's in the hands. Look at not just a person. I'm not just keying in on, well, do they have a gun? I hear a gun fire. You may hear that too, but do they have a knife in hand, right? I hope that I'm wrong. I hope this is not an emerging trend. I hope that we're not going to see this on our shores, but unfortunately, I think I'm probably right about that we will see more of this. Aurora, Colorado, 2012, better communication amongst emergency responders. One of the things that's changing is the fire department's ability, their protocols for going into what is deemed a warm zone. We have cold, warm, hot zone. It's a hot zone, it's happening right here, right now. There's gunfire going on. A warm zone might be the other side away from this location. There's still a possibility that somebody could get shot, but it's not happening immediately right there. The cold zone sanitized, it's done, it's over with, it's safe. Well, fire department is now under certain conditions, they're changing the protocols where they can, with escort from law enforcement, again, the idea of working seamlessly together with law enforcement, they can go into what is called a warm zone. They can, in a faster, more expedient way, get people out to definitive care in a medical situation, a medical hospital, to a medical hospital. And then Sandy Hook. After Sandy Hook, folks were clamoring. Our phones were ringing off the wall within the department for information for civilians, for all you folks. And we started looking at it. It all filtered down to our unit. What do we do? What information do we give to you guys? You guys need help. And as I said at the very beginning of this, the first 4 to 8 minutes is absolutely critical. So let's talk preparation. Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. So prevention. Prevention is your best plan. As I said before, you guys know who belongs, who doesn't belong, who you had problems with. You know, if you can get a hold of folks, if you have a problem student, and you think, yeah, you know what, maybe this is somebody we could go off. This is somebody who might present a problem. If you can get the proper authorities, mental health involved, prevention, always the best avenue. As I said before, who belongs, who doesn't belong? Report and record suspicious activity. Going back to what happened before, at Virginia Tech, and this individual comes out, and, they had 2 bomb scares. It turned out to be nothing the first 2. And yet, on the 3rd one, somebody said, whatever. It's another scare. We can't do that. We cannot do that. We cannot afford to say, this is a big nothing, even if it's the 5th, 6th time, because the 7th time might be the real McCoy. And then what? It's one of those things where you're kicking yourself afterwards, going, man, I knew it. We can't do that. We've got to take each and every threat, each and every situation as a real emergency. Now, does it mean that we have to go completely overboard? No, it doesn't. But we take notes, right? We notify, we talk to our We talk to our coworkers, because maybe they know something too. Now all of a sudden we start to build an idea that, well, maybe there's more to it than we're just seeing, the little thing that we saw. This is a big one. Security is not always convenient. And you know, I will be the first to tell you, we see it, you think that a law enforcement entity, a patrol station would have the best security in town. Sometimes that is true, and sometimes we get lax. How many times do you have a particular area where a door should be locked, but you know what, you gotta punch in the code, or you gotta get your key, or you gotta do something, and this is the door that everybody goes out to go take a cigarette break at. It happens. We start to get lazy. And so we leave that door propped open to an area that might be sensitive, because that's where everybody goes in and out. We're going to make it easier. Security is not always convenient. The doors are there with locks for a reason, and we should utilize that. And by the way, that Johnson Residence Hall, that term tailgating, they suspect that that's how Cho got into it. Virginia Tech, they suspect that that's how he got into Residence Hall and killed the first 2 students. He had a pass card. They have the cards, I'm guessing, some kind of magnetic card that scans and opens the door for them. But his was set. It didn't apparently activate. There was an activation time on his card. It didn't activate until like 8 o'clock or something thereabouts. And so this term tailgate, which a lot of students do, somebody has a card, they key it. Oh, you're coming in right behind me, hold the door for you. You look like you belong, I guess. You act like you belong. Maybe I'm too busy with what I'm doing, I'm just being nice and holding the door. And so Cho, they suspect you walk right in on the heels of somebody else. Challenge. If you know somebody doesn't belong, then they're challenging. Why are they here? What's their business here? We talk about prior planning. Again, you guys know your school, exit points, entry points. I was amazed. I went back to my high school. This is going back a few years. Santa Monica High School, and when I was there, we had a couple of security guards, but there were no fences all the way around the school. I rolled in there and I was like, holy smokes, man, there's fences all around. There's like big, huge steel fences, and there's one after the school, after the school starts and the classes start, there is now one controlled entry and exit point. I'm like, man, this didn't happen when I was there, but it does now. So you guys know your entry and exit points and where is a good place to leave. Have multiple strategies, multiple exit points, depending on where you are within your school. If you're at the cafeteria, if you're at your classroom, if you're at the administration office, how do you get out? What's your exit to get away from this location? How can you fortify your location? Now, a lot of your doors are going to open outwards, right? So how do you, I can put furniture up in front of the door if it opens inwards, but how do I do it if it opens outwards? You can't? Yes, you can. Take a desk, put it in front of the door, and how about extension cord? Wrap it around the desk and wrap it around the door knob. Can we do that? Possibly. We need to look at our doors because you're not going to open that door from the outside and pull it open with the desk in front of it. And even if I can't do that, can I put a bunch of desks and so on in front of that door to slow somebody down from getting in? Make it as difficult as possible for them. But you got to look around in your planning of this, look around your classroom, look around your office. How can you fortify if it ever came down to it? Okay? What can you fight with? What do you think? And by the way, when I talk about fighting, this is the last thing in the world we want you to do. We'd rather have you escape. We'd rather have you fortify and hunker down, hide. Fighting is the last thing that we want you to do. But I'd rather die on my than die in a fetal position someplace, just waiting to die. Every single one of us here in this room has a right to live. You should get, pardon my French, but you should get pissed off that some fool is coming in and trying to take your life.
Go over to the back.
So if it comes right down to it, what can you fight with? Fire extinguisher. Okay, I'll buy off on that. What else? Knife? Okay. What if you don't have a knife? There's all nice. Okay. What other sharp objects do we have? Scissors, pens, pencils. I gave this lecture actually at a hospital, and somebody pointed behind me, and there was a flagpole with a big big metal pointed, basically a spear tip on the end of it. That'll work. How about any kind of cleaning solutions? Okay. How about to have that? Okay. Well, hey, listen, I don't know what you're allowed to have, what you're not. But you can look around and you can see what's there and what you could effectively use to fight with. You can use your imagination. Mental preparation. You've got to mentally prepare yourself for this event. It's going to be loud. It's going to be very frightening. You may see things that are things that nobody should have to see. There could be blood, there could be gore. You might be injured, but you've got to mentally prepare yourself ahead of time for this potential event because it will make you stronger to get through it. Keeping in mind, you do not have to be a victim. This is empowerment. You start thinking about this stuff ahead of time. What will I do if this happens? How will I get through this? And like I tell our students, we all tell our students, we don't teach people to die coming to our facility. We affectionately tell them that if you fall down because you've been shot by one of our Sims rounds, you're doing your Academy Award dying. We do our Academy Award act. We will shoot you more until you get up and move. We don't teach people to die, and you should not think in terms of, I'm going to die if this happens. Not the case. You should think in terms of, I will survive this if this happens. I am mentally fortified, mentally strong, and there are things I can do. I do not have to be a victim. Okay?
Good morning, everybody. It's loud. Scares me so. My name's Herb DeRoche. As Jim told you earlier. I'm the French guy on the group. Just happy St. Patrick's Day. And the last few things Jim talked about were pretty solid. I'm going to go back and I'm going to harp on that mental preparation just a little bit more. How many people in here, well, first of all, is anybody in this room with prior military experience? One person. 2, 3, 4. Okay, we got it. Okay, I'm going to tell you something about your mental preparation. And Jim is pretty gentle when he says things. I'm not so gentle. I'm pretty direct. I have a lot of military experience. I've been on the department for a long time. I've seen a lot of bad things. So, in your mental preparation, I'm going to tell you that you need to think about the possibility, very strong possibility, that you may have to take someone's life. If you've never thought about it before, and I would venture to guess that a lot of you probably never have, you may have said, gonna kill you. Might have gotten upset with your kids because they broke something really expensive in the house. Go sit down before I kill you. She didn't really mean it. She said it out of love. Said it because she knew if they broke something else, it would be a price to pay. But you definitely have to stop and take stock in yourself. And get it in your head that there is a possibility that something like this happen. You may have to take somebody's life. And I'm going to tell you, when that time comes, you cannot hesitate. You cannot hesitate. If you hesitate, bad things will happen. I'm telling you this. We tell this to our students every day. If you hesitate, bad things happen to you and to other people. As school administrators and teachers, you have a big charge. You have hundreds of students that you have to look out for. Hundreds. Don't hesitate. Okay, do we need to stay? Do you need to stay? What do you think? Yes. Some of you might. Some of you may not. Okay, some of the things we're talking about here, Jim touched on a couple of them, about running, hiding, sheltering someplace, and as a last resort, fighting. And definitely, like he said, as a last resort, fighting. Very, very last resort. Do we need to stay? This, obviously, Jim talked about earlier, hospital situations where doctors may have to stay in a certain place because they're doing surgery. Obviously, nobody don't have any brain surgeons here, right? Rocket scientists, maybe. Some. Okay, so probably you're not going to have to stay. You're probably not going to have to stay someplace on this campus. Okay, this is a hold the facility type of thing. So don't worry about staying. We can get to the good stuff. Okay, what to do if you're in an active shooter incident? Who do you call? It's not the Ghostbusters. Don't call them. Okay, 911. That's obvious, right? First of all, it says evacuate. When you call 911, they're going to answer the phone at the station. They're going to start asking you a bunch of questions. They're going to ask you information about how many people are here, how many people are shooting, what do they look like, what are they wearing, what kind of guns are they carrying, what part of the school are they in, can you tell where they're moving to, can you tell where they're coming from? You're going to be upset because you want the police here right now, this very second, as things are going bad. If you can give them that information, do it. Provide them as much information as you possibly can before they get here. Understand, as soon as you say, hey, there's somebody on this campus and they're shooting people, cars are already rolling. Cars are already rolling. Because not only did you call, probably 2, 3, 4, 5 other people probably called at the same time you did. Okay, so when you call, hopefully you have some information that you can provide that will assist those officers or deputies when they get here. Okay, evacuate. This is called run. What do we do? What do you think you should do if you see somebody running around this campus with a gun? You stand there? Do we hide? Who says hide? Yeah, hide. Run. The very first thing you should do is run. Don't stand there and wait. Run. Where do we run? Opposite direction, right? Easy. Okay, I don't need to be standing next to this guy with the gun. Okay, run. Now, some of you are going to say, well, we got all these kids we have to take care of. And we've heard that before. Okay, gather those kids up and make them run with you. And believe me, if gunfire starts, those kids are probably going to be running past you. So if you see kids running past you, try and keep up. Leave the kill zone. Leave the kill zone. That kill zone is the area immediately around the bad guy. Immediately around the person with the gun who's shooting. That's the kill zone. And it could be up to 50, 100 yards, depending on the type of weapon that individual is using. Okay, get out of that area. It says no huddling. No huddling. That means don't gather up your students and go hunker down in the corner hoping that the bad guy will pass you and he will not hurt you. Wrong thing to do. Jim talked about it earlier. Lambs to the slaughter. That's what that is. Lambs to the slaughter. We don't want you to be a victim. You shouldn't want to be a victim. And huddling in a corner with you and 5 or 10 other people is not going to help. People say there's safety in numbers. There's not safety in those kinds of numbers. When everybody's hunkered down in the corner, afraid to move, you have got to move. If you're going to gather people, gather them and run. Move them in the direction away from where the bad guy's at. Leapfrog. Leapfrog. Everybody plays leapfrog with your kids? Yeah. You got somebody down on their hands and knees, and Kate jumped over, and they jumped over. And you made your way down a certain line, wherever you were going. You want to do the same thing here, except you're not going to be jumping over anybody's back. When we say leapfrog, you run from one area to another, kind of bouncing. Now that we've touched on, I'll talk about cover and concealment so that you understand. Does anybody know what cover is? Or concealment? The difference between the two. The difference between the two. Cover is something that will stop a bullet. It will prevent a bullet from hitting you. It will prevent a bullet from hitting you, like that brick wall or some solid steel structure. Okay. Concealment is nothing more than hiding. If I can hide behind this, and I almost can. Okay, that's just concealment. That's nothing that's going to stop a bullet. Okay, you might hide behind a curtain. That curtain is concealment. It's not going to stop a bullet. Now, bad guys, for the most part, are like us. They're visual. They like to see what they're shooting. So sometimes you may get away with being concealed. Very rare. Very rare. Okay. So understand the difference between cover and concealment. Now getting back to leapfrog, you want to leapfrog from one point of cover to another. Cover might be an alcove where there's a doorway. Okay, if I'm standing here and I'm looking and I see the bad guys over there, okay, I'm going to run. I'm running from this doorway and running to the next doorway where I know there's cover, where there's a brick wall that's going to provide me some protection. So you want to run from one area of protection to another area of protection. And you want to do that as quick as possible. It says zigzag up there. Don't run in a straight line. Anybody know how fast bullets travel? Rifles, a couple thousand feet per second. Handguns, probably 1,200 feet per second. You will not outrun a bullet. If you run in a straight line, the bullet will catch you. Okay? It's harder for people to hit targets when they're moving from side to side, when they're moving laterally. So we tell you zigzag. If you have to run, run back and forth. Okay? Don't run in a straight line. Okay, it says evacuate regardless of what others agree to follow. How many of you agree with that? Everybody should agree with that. Okay, some people are not going to want to follow you. First of all, everyone's not going to be able to run. I got it. Everybody doesn't have the same capabilities. Some of us have bad knees. I'm one of those people. But believe me, when the gunfire starts, I'm going to run. Everybody doesn't have the same capabilities, and everybody's not going to want to do the same thing that you're doing. Because somebody's going to think, oh, hey, I'm staying right here. I'm good here. He's not going to come this way. Remember what I said about huddling in a corner. Lambs to the slaughter. Okay? If they're willing to go with you, take them with you. If they're not willing to go with you, leave. Because if you stay, you just may be one more casualty. Okay, we want to prevent as much of that as possible. Help others escape if you can. Okay, I talked about finding cover or concealment. If there's a lull in the gunfire, or change of location. If you hear the gunfire's going off, and it's going off pretty rapidly, boom, 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 boom. If you're hiding, stay there. Stay there until it stops, or until there's a break. If you see the bad guy, he's shooting, and he's not looking at you, just stay right where you are. When he slows down, you take off running. You go the opposite direction. Okay, at the onset, if you hear those gunshots, just take off. If it's been a while and you're stuck in a particular area, wait until you hear a lull in the gunfire, which means the gunfire slowed down. Or you hear the gunfire moving in a direction that's moving away from you. That would be your opportunity to move. That would be your opportunity to go to a safer place. Okay? Okay, assess the sounds and their source. Again, if you hear it moving away from you, it's okay for you to move and go to a safer place. If you're already hiding in a place and you've been able to secure that place, stay there. If you're sure that it's pretty secure, stay there. A smart escape and evacuation plan beats an encounter or an engagement. Okay, a smart escape and evacuation plan. Having a plan, any kind of plan, is better than not having a plan. Okay, if you already have something in your head, if you mentally rehearse this in your head, that's a plan. If you've already said, what am I going to do if a bad guy comes on our facility, and you've decided, well, I'm going to get in my classroom, I'm going to secure that door as best I can, and I'm going to hold here until law enforcement gets here, that's a plan. That's a plan. If you said, I'm going to take off to the nearest exit from the campus, that is a plan. If you have no plan, when things go bad, guess what you will do? You will stand in one place not knowing what to do. You will freeze. You'll be running in circles going, oh my God, what's happening? Have a plan. Think about this. Think about this. That's why we're here. We're here to tell you. Think about these things ahead of time. Prior planning. Visualize what you will do if something like this ever happens here. Professional athletes do it every day. Every day. They get out on the field, the baseball players do it, they visualize the ball going into their glove. Quarterbacks do it, they visualize getting that snap and throwing that ball downfield. You can do it too. Visualize what you're going to do. imagine that somebody's 20 feet away from you with a gun, and he just pulled it out and he's starting to shoot. Imagine what you're going to do, what you would like to do. That is the plan. That's the beginnings of prior planning. Uh-oh. All right. Okay, shelter in place. If you're in a classroom, Jim talked about how do you secure your classrooms. Something as simple as a little wooden wedge can jam your door, believe it or not. Just a small 1 inch, probably quarter-inch wooden wedge can jam your classroom door. And it's jamming that door by throwing it off square. Okay? Jam that thing underneath the door, jam it on top of the door, however you need to get it in there. It will prevent your door from opening. If you can't do that, Jim gave you a hint. Get something, wrap it around that door handle, and secure it to something heavy inside your classroom. Stacking things up inside your classroom to prevent the bad guy from getting in there. Do all the doors open out? How about, is there a closet inside your classroom that you can secure yourself in there? Okay, because even though you're in a classroom, how many classroom doors have windows on? Do we have something to cover those windows? If you don't, think about getting something to cover those windows. Because remember what I said, the bad guys are visual. If they see you, they will shoot at you. Cover the windows up. If you can secure that door, don't hide just on the other side of the door. Move to a separate corner of the classroom where you can't be seen. Where you can't be seen and where you're not going to be in the direct line of fire should the bad guy decide he wants to shoot through the door. Okay, utilize cover concealment. Again, move desks inside the classroom. Hide behind desks. Hide behind multiple desks. Hide behind filing cabinets if you have to. Use wedges in the doors. Avoid standing directly in front of the door or windows. Turning off the lights. Turning off your cell phones. Because when you're hiding, what do you want to be? As quiet as possible, right? Put that phone on vibrate. Because if it's on the ring, the bad guy's walking by and he hears that ring and then suddenly it stops, what's he thinking? Well, somebody's in there. I missed something. Got to go back and check. Okay. Stay out from behind those doors. Hide as best you can. Okay, last resort. Okay, I talked about preparing yourself and taking the time to think about the fact that you might have to take someone's life. And this is where the rubber meets the road, right here. Right here. There are several things that you have in your classrooms that will help you. Okay, one is if you're hunkered down in your classroom with students, what do you have? Numbers, right? You have power in numbers. Now, start looking at the things that you have in your classrooms. Chairs, you got pencils, you got rulers, maybe the teacher's got a letter opener on the desk, something sharp, blunt objects, staplers, a tape dispenser, anything that you can utilize as a weapon. Anything in your classroom that you can utilize as a weapon. Hey, when I was in school, they used to have yardsticks, and I'm going to tell you, I didn't like the yardstick at all. Anything that you can use is blunt. What's the object? Number one, the first object was to run. If you can't run, hide. Okay? And now we're up to the point of fighting. The object in this fight this last-ditch effort, the object is to stop the assault on you and your students. Okay, when we get that call, that is our objective, to stop the threat, whatever it takes to stop the threat. We're coming with guns. You may not have that, but you still have to stop that threat. Which means when you pick up one of those weapons, one of those blunt objects, or one of those sharpened pencils, or a pen, or whatever you have on you in your purse, in your pockets, when you grab that weapon, the object is to put that individual down. It is truly to stop that individual. And I told you, you need to think about the possibility that you may have to take someone's life. And you very well may have to if it comes down to this. If it comes down to this. Where do I hit him to incapacitate him? I don't care where you hit him. You hit him every place that you possibly can. Pick that chair up and try and knock his head over the fence on the outer perimeter of the school. You take that pencil and you stick it as far into his neck, or eye, or ear, or leg, or groin, wherever you have to hit him or stick him to stop them. I don't care where it is. The object is to incapacitate that individual, to make them stop doing what they're doing. Okay, obviously there's a lot of stuff for household syringes. I hope nobody has a syringe before. I hope nobody gets drugs in class either. Bring your dogs around there. Okay, mindset. Mindset. We talk about, I touched on that mindset of preparing yourself to kill somebody. Here's the other part of having a mindset. You want to have a combat mindset. A combat mindset. Which means you are going to fight to the end. To the end. You are never, ever, ever going to give up. Okay? Don't be a victim. Nobody here is a victim. Fight to the end. Do not let the bad guy decide whether you go home to your family or not. That's a decision you make. Nobody has the right to make that decision for you. Get it in your head now. Nothing is going to stop you from going home to your loved ones or your pets, like me. Distance and timing. Remember I said you have numbers. If you're hunkered down in a class, you're with your students, you have power in numbers. Okay, that can be detrimental. Understand. That can be a bad thing for you, but it can be a good thing for you. Distance and timing. Distance gives us time. Distance gives us time. However, distance also gives the bad guy time. So if I'm the bad guy and I come into the classroom and you're 20 feet away from me and I'm holding a gun, guess what? I have the advantage right now. I have the advantage. However, if I come into the classroom and I walk further in and I get closer to you to try and assault you with this gun that I have in my hand, I'm closing that distance. Okay? I'm starting to give my advantage away. You need to understand that. The closer they are to you, the more vulnerable they are to attack. The more vulnerable they are to be overtaken. Okay, you see in the movies all the time, and guys holding the gun in the bag, and the good guy's got the gun out, and the bad guy goes on. You can't shoot us all. There's 4 of us, and only one of you. And the good guy says, okay, who's first? Who wants to step up first and get shot? Okay, guess what? You have to make a concerted effort. If that is part of your plan, if that is part of your plan, when you're in that classroom hiding with those students, the students that you're trying to protect, if you don't sit down and talk to them and say, hey, if a bad guy comes through this door, this is what we're going to do. And guess what? That plan, you don't have a plan, so it's probably not going to work, right? If somebody comes through that door, you have to understand, you need to talk to your students. Hey, if somebody comes in the door, this is what we're going to do. If they get close enough to us, everybody's going to rush in at one time. Everybody at one time. And absolutely, he can't get you all. He can't get you all. And he might get one of you. Understanding this is a last alternative, the final alternative. Okay. We prefer that you don't have to fight. As a last resort, if that's what you have to do, though that's where the safety in numbers lies, when they're close to you. When they're close to you. We're getting close here. Getting close to the end. Okay, power and numbers. What to expect when we arrive? Law enforcement's first priority is to stop the active shooter as quickly as possible. Law enforcement will most likely bypass you and go directly to where the shots were heard. Okay, understand that when we get that call, our first priority is to put the threat down. Now, I'll give you an example of where something bad happened. In Wisconsin, how many people have heard about the Sikh temple shooting? Okay, individual goes to the Sikh temple and he starts killing people. And he's making his way through their facility. The first person on the scene there was a lieutenant from the police department. Okay, and he rushed in and he saw some injured people at the facility. Okay, and he broke the first rule to stop the threat. Understandably, he stopped to attend to somebody who was injured. He saw the bad guy. He saw the bad guy up ahead of him and he says, well, you know what, I can stop here and attend to this injured individual. Guess what? That was a mistake. Because the bad guy circled around behind him. Unfortunately, he was by himself at the time. He was shot 17 times. 17 times. Thank God he survived. Okay, he survived to tell the story. Okay, just understand that when we get there, our first priority is to stop the bad guy. If we see injured personnel on the ground, we're not going to stop and help. Help will be on the way. We're not forgetting about you. We're not neglecting you. We just understand that we have to stop the problem first. If we don't stop the problem, it may come back to get us, and then we're in a worse situation, right? Or it may be continuing on, hurting other people. So we want to stop that as quickly as possible. That is what our mission is. Help will be on the way. And when we deal with the bad guy, we will come back and help you. We usually arrive in teams of 3 to 5. That's called a contact team. First to arrive on scene will not stop to help the injured. Additional teams and rescue personnel will arrive to help the injured. They may be armed with handguns, shotguns, or rifles. They may shout commands and push people to the ground for their safety. Law enforcement may ask you for information about the shooters. All of those things are going to occur, guaranteed. When you see us coming, here's what you don't do. Don't run directly toward us. Okay, I got it. Hey, police are on the scene. Hey, help! Okay, we got it. Don't grab onto us. Okay, because then it's going to be, hey, get off of me. Stop cutting out, I gotta go. I'm here to help, but I can't help if you're doing it. Don't hurt around us and prevent us from doing what we need to do. Okay? We are going to help. We are going to stop and ask. If we arrive on scene and we see you moving toward us, we're going to tell you, put your hands up. So if you see us, you want to approach like this. Your hands up, nothing in your hands. Nothing. Nothing. I don't care if you just knock a bad guy in the head with a hammer, drop the hammer, and ain't coming to us. Okay? Because we don't know whether you're the bad person. We just got there on the scene. Okay? Open hands when you approach us. Don't grab onto us. Try not to delay us. We're going to ask you several questions. Where's the bad guy? Which way did he go? What is he wearing? We're going to ask you the same things that the people who answer the phones at the station are going to ask you. Okay, but we're getting the most critical information, the most updated information, so that we can pass that on to people who are coming in behind us. Okay? So be prepared for that. Okay, remain calm, follow directions. How many people here think they're going to be able to remain calm? Okay, we teach classes every day, and when shooting starts, not a single deputy can remain calm. I doubt that anyone here is going to be able to remain calm. Remain as calm as possible, considering there's gunshots going off around you, possibly explosions going off around you. As calm as possible. Put down any items in your hand. We talked about that. Immediately raise your hands and spread your fingers, because we don't want to shoot you accidentally. Keep your hands visible at all times. Avoid making quick movements toward deputies. Don't grab onto them for safety. Okay, we don't have that Superman cape that we can spread around and protect you. Avoid pointing, screaming, or yelling. That last one, avoid pointing. Believe it or not, when we come on a scene, we're looking for certain things. And if we're looking for a shooter, an individual with a handgun or a rifle, we are particularly looking at the fact that they are pointing. Okay, we're looking at the fact that we're pointing. So if we come on and you're pointing at us going, hey, you're telling your friends, hey, there's the police, that could be sadly mistaken. Okay? Especially with people with eyes like mine from 50 yards away, and I see an arm out going like that, I might feel threatened. Okay? Because I can't see whether it's just your finger or whether there's something in your hand. Okay, so be careful about that. How to react. Okay, information to provide law enforcement or 911 operators. We talked about this earlier. The location of where the shooter's at, how many shooters there are, a physical description of that individual, if you've seen them, The number and type of weapons, if you've seen them. How many people know the difference between a semi-automatic rifle and a fully automatic rifle? Okay, a few. If it's a gun and it's long, okay, just tell them they have a long gun. They have a long gun. Okay, because that long gun could be a rifle, it could be a shotgun, it could be fully automatic, it could be semi-automatic. You may not know. Give them a description that makes sense to you. Hey, I don't know, he had a long gun. It was black. Okay, and I made a loud boom. That's all I know. If he had a handgun, something small enough that fits in his hand, it's a handgun. Hey, he had a handgun. I don't know if it was a revolver. I don't know if it was a pistol. I don't know. All I saw was he had his hand stretched out, and he was pulling the trigger, and he was going bang, bang, bang. That's all you need to tell. Okay. The number of potential victims at the location. If you know, if somebody's with you and that person is injured, let them know. And you'd be surprised that it might be overlooked. It might be overlooked. When we teach our classes to deputies, you'd be surprised how many of them forget to ask their partners, hey, are you injured? Have you been shot? In a hyper-violent situation, your body goes through a lot of physiological changes. Adrenaline dumps into your body, and sometimes your heart rate goes up, and it gets so high that guess what? You start to lose cognitive skills, and you forget to ask certain things. So, if you're hunkering down with somebody, or even if you're running with somebody, when you get to where you're going, when you get to a safe area, you make sure you stop and check yourself. And check on your friends or your students. Hey, are you injured at all? Because believe it or not, you can be shot and not know it. You can be shot and not know it because of the fact that your adrenaline is so high and because your heart rate is so high. In fact, you may receive a fatal injury and never know it. So, ask your friends, anyone with you, if they're injured, and report that. Okay, this is the last thing. Internal crisis kit. The bottom line, this is a kit that will help law enforcement when they arrive on scene. Particularly if you have locations on the campus that are secured locations, places that you may have a vault somewhere where people are locked in. Inside these kits, you can have things like maps of the campus. Okay, if you have key cards that open up certain areas of the school that law enforcement may need to get into, you can keep them inside this kit. Phone numbers, plans of the actual buildings themselves. Not only do you have a campus map in there, but you may have blueprints of the actual buildings themselves, what the classes look like, how those buildings are set up inside as opposed to just what they look on an overhead campus map. Keys. Keys that open up certain places on campus. Particular phone numbers of personnel that need to be contacted in an emergency. That's what we're going inside one of these ice kits. Hospitals, of course, because this presentation was initially made for hospitals, they have a ton of other things that are inside of these kits that might come in handy for law enforcement. Or not only law enforcement, also for fire. Also for fire. Because you may have an emergency on the campus where fire has to respond and they have to get into some place quickly. And the person who has the keys is not available. The crisis kit, we can open that up and fire can go do what they need to do. And in most cases, because everybody loves fire and they don't love law enforcement, fire usually has that stuff all ahead of time. I'm a little jealous. I think that that's just about it. And we'll open it up. Questions? Anybody have any questions about anything that we've gone over so far? Why? Come on. Come on. Wait. This is the school district. Your teachers, I know you have questions. Administrators, yeah, yes, sir.
My question I hear gunshots somewhere, run or stay. I mean, that's, if you're not in that active kill zone like you talked about, the question to me is always, you know, should we go or hunker down and hide? And when, it's an impossible question, but that's what I want to do.
So, everybody on the other side of the question, yes, anybody not here? Okay, question B, do you run or do you stay? Do you hide? Do you hunker down? And, you know, this was something that, just so that you're very sure of what we're saying, if you're, for example, you're out, it's lunchtime, and you have a lot of students out in an open area, we advocate that you run, get out of the kill zone. If you're in your classroom, and this jumps out, we don't advocate that you come out of the classroom into the kill zone to run and get away off the campus. I want to make that very clear. There's a lot of different variables that could come up and dictate what you do. In that prior planning model that we talked about, you have to think about, well, if I'm in my classroom, is it safe to stay put right here if the gunfire is going off, say, you know, someplace I can hear it on the other side of campus? Or do I come out of that classroom and now I become more of a target along with my students? We would advocate you stay in the classroom, barricade that classroom, as Herb talked about, cover windows, silence cell phones, get your plan together on how you're going to fight if that individual does in fact choose your classroom and start to break in. Answer your question? Okay. The other thing that may happen, another variable, you know, say for example, it is lunchtime, it's recess time, what have you, and you have a classroom right there. If you grab as many of those kids as possible, and the safest place is right there in that classroom barricade, as opposed to, say, you're cut off from your exit strategy that you've already thought about. Go inside that classroom barricade. Get yourself locked in. Now, I bring this up because a question was asked of me right after I sat down, and I understand some of you have little kids, kindergarten, okay? It may be, you know, a teacher has, and I don't know anymore how many kids are in the classroom, but say you've got 40 or 50. Say you have your 20 or so kids, right? May not be all of my kids. I may grab some of her kids just because they were closest to me at the time. I'm not going to worry about that at that moment. I'm going to grab those kids and sink into that classroom if that's my safe haven. Barricade that door. Ultimately, at some point, as we get rid of the problem, we as law enforcement get rid of the problem, and now we start to look at, okay, we need to assess who's injured. Unfortunately, who might be fatally injured. Now we start to assess, okay, whose kids do I have? We have to figure out where these kids are. So I may call, you know, I have a roster in the morning, right? I know who's there, who should be there, and all of a sudden now I've got a bunch of other kids and I'm missing some kids. Well, that can all filter into the office area, a centralized area, and we can start to put together, or you can start to put together a picture of what kids are accounted for and what kids may have been caught out in the open and took off. They beat feet. We'll figure that stuff out later on down the line. Don't get too wrapped around the axle if, you know, I've got somebody else's kids and they might have some of mine. We'll sort that out later. The important thing is either A, get the hell out of Dodge, right, if you possibly can, or hunker down and barricade yourself in. One of the things I kind of wanted to touch on, when we talk about the idea of fighting. Yep. I have another question over here. Yes. Yes. I'm sorry.
I actually have two. The first one is, do you have any recommendations of items that police teachers should have that's legal for us to have in case of a situation like this? And then number two, how do we know if the person at the door is the gunman or you? Are you going to have a secret password?
No. We're not having a secret password. But we do have decoder rings. address your first question. What are we fighting with? Well,
I mean, is there something we?
you know, you can legally have pepper spray. Whether or not your administration, I don't know that that starts to get into issues for you all or not. But we talk about things like pencils, pens, Herb talked about some stuff, I've mentioned some stuff. You have to look around and you have to say, well, what do I have immediately at my disposal?
Well, that's if we're not prepared. If we're prepared, what can we say?
Okay.
Wow. Okay, I'll tell you what's illegal. A 3-inch knife, having a knife with a 3-inch blade on it is illegal, and it's a great defensive tool. Now, having said that, as Jim said, your administrators are going to have certain rules about what you have on campus and what you can bring on and so on and so forth. We're not going to stand here and tell you, okay, if you have a concealed carry permit, that you should have a gun on campus. Absolutely not. We're not telling you. Okay? That's a problem between the administration and whoever, the state, whatever. What you can legally have on you are those items that you can normally have out in public, like that knife with a 3-inch blade, or pepper spray, or a good pen or pencil stuck in your pocket, you know. Those are the things that we're advocating that you have with you. Okay? Some things we carry on a regular basis. I carry a knife every single day. Every single day, wherever I go. Whether it's a knife with a 2.5-inch, 3-inch blade, or a knife with a 4-inch blade. Okay? Knives, believe it or not, in most instances, are more deadly than guns. Okay, because someone can be cut and definitely not know. A razor blade is extremely dangerous because they're very sharp, they cut deep, and sometimes you don't even feel it. Okay. We're not going to give you a list of things that you can carry. Just think about it. Yes, ma'am.
Would you take the children?
I'm sorry, just one more second. Part 2 of her question. Now we'll get to her. Yeah, part 2 as far as how do you know it's us, right? And that's a very fair question. If you don't know, if you think it may not be, don't open the door. Pure and simple. We're not going to take offense to it. You know, if it gets right down to, okay, this is the last door right here, we got people that won't come out. If you get a phone, get on the phone, call the police station. You can call the sheriff's station, you can call 911 at that point. You know, you're not hearing any gunfire going on, maybe. You get somebody knocking on the door, there's no harm, no foul. Call the station and say, hey, well, we got some people outside our door that claim to be law enforcement. And they're going to tell you, you know, there's somebody on the radio with us, right? And they'll say, yeah, that's definitely so-and-so, and what have you. So you can call out and say, hey, what's your name? Oh, definitely so-and-so. Oh, yeah, okay, that sounds like they just told me that. Okay, well, it's us. Don't just open the door because somebody says it's the police. Absolutely not. If you feel that there's a problem, keep the door closed. The one thing before we get to that question that was kind of gnawing at me, if you ever get a chance, I don't know, you might go catch it on Netflix or what have you. There is it's a program that was on, I believe, HBO and Discovery. It's called Final Word, and they cover a lot of different incidents, many different types of incidents, and it was basically a breakdown of the incident. And in this one particular episode, it was about Virginia Tech. Okay. Now, I understand for those of you who have little kids, but for those of you who have high school students that you're dealing with, high school students, good size, right? By and large. One of the things in the interview with the survivors with Virginia Tech, they had, these were college students, they had barricaded the door. Joe was forcing his way in. Joe was not the biggest guy in the world, and he had he had 2 handguns on him. He's forcing his way in, and ultimately what winds up happening is he shoots a few people, and then he breaks completely in, and he goes around and he just walks down the aisles and starts executing people. Many of these people, I get it, they're afraid. They're hoping the bad man's going to go away. He's not. They basically lay there in a fetal position, many of them, and waited to die. I submit that if you have a couple of, if you have, like Irv said, you know, safety numbers in this particular case, Joe's taking his time. He's got to push through that door. If you had 3 or 4 good-sized folks, or maybe not good size, but pissed off, willing to fight, Joe's trying to break in. Once he gets in, grab it, beat the crap out of him. Take his gun away. Okay? Better that in that last-ditch effort than lay there in a fetal position and wait to die. If you ever get a chance to see that episode, it's a fascinating episode. It's well worth your time watching. So, yes, ma'am.
I'm taking my kids out. We're leaving the school. Do I go 3 doors down and go in that neighbor's backyard? Do I go half a block down? I've got little kids. What's the best thing to do?
You know, that sounds like a reasonable idea, going several doors down, get out of the area and go into a backyard maybe. Getting, you know, if there's a homeowner there, getting them on the line, or have them get on the line, 411, 911. Boy, I'll have another cup of coffee.
He's looking for the first Irish pub he can find.
Wow. You know, one of the things, and I'm glad you asked that, because it brought back the idea that in Sandy Hook, very well meaning, they took the kids and they went to the fire station. First thought, man, that's a good place, and that's what they thought. And it turned out it was. But if you're a bad guy, and especially if you're talking, you know, multiple scenarios going on, fire station, I may not want to go to. I may want to go hit the fire station if I'm a bad guy. And in this particular case, now I got a bunch of little kids there at the fire station. So the idea of just an arbitrary backyard away from the kill zone, you've got the kids, yeah, that might be a decent idea. If you get to that location, I would also look to see, is there another way out of there so you're not pinned in if, God forbid, continue to get worse.
And the second question is, we're prepared, we know what different zones we have in our school. Is it a good idea to use our phones as an intercom and let other people in our school know where the active shooter is? Let's say we're in the part by the front where the active shooter is, and we can get on our intercom. We're hunkered down in our classroom until we can get away from that area. But do we let, through the intercom, announce to the rest of the school that, you know, crazy is in zone 1, you know, or whatever we have as our plan? Or do we not? I mean, how do other people in the school know where that person is unless something goes out to them? Do we use whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a reasonable idea. If everybody else within your school knows what that means, that's zone 1, zone 2, whatever the case. If you could just get on the phone and call, you know, just via cell phone, call other students, or other teachers, I should say, or
but if it's on our intercom, it can go out as a speaker.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that could help you out. Yeah, I would think so. Sir. When you have little kids that are traumatized, oh, and they're screaming.
Not even quiet.
What is it, Diamond Tap? Sorry. I couldn't help myself. No, absolutely, that is a very real possibility, and the best thing you can do for them is be reassuring, and you can just talk to them, you know, tell them, hey, look, you know, we've got to be quiet. Any way that you can think of as an adult talking to little kids to help soothe them, help quiet them down, we get it. It is traumatizing. But we have to start maybe thinking outside the box as adults, as administrators, as teachers, how to get them to calm down as best we possibly can. You know, anything we can do, anything we can think of to quiet them down. Have them take a deep breath, you know. And this is going back to one of the things we tell our guys, you know. When, for example, I'll just give you a very quick example. Guys are walking, we call it patrolling. They're moving, say they're moving across your parking lot, this student parking lot here, and they haven't reached any kind of contact yet. They might hear something off in the distance, or maybe now it's quiet. And as they're moving across no man's land, the parking lot, all of a sudden they are engaged. That is a crap moment, okay? My proper factor, Herb's proper factor, it's going to be way up there. We need to take that deep breath. Once we get to cover, our first thing is, you know, for us, it's either going to be flatten out, go to cover, we're going to do something, but now we need to reassess. Take a deep breath, figure out where the rounds are coming from, and figure out our game plan. Well, I take that and I translate it too. If this happens and you've got students, they are going to be traumatized also. They're going to be extremely upset, confused, agitated, you name it. So we hunker down, we reassure them we are going to get through this. Take a deep breath, relax as much as you can, settle in, and let's figure out a game plan together. Does that more or less answer your question? Yep, cool. Okay, we have just a couple more minutes. If there are any other questions, then we have to kind of wrap this up. I saw that hand first.
How do you know when everything is done and you are safe to come out?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Doing this.
So, yeah, and he's right on the money there. He is absolutely right on the money. What's going to wind up happening, you know, just real quick, I mean, we go through the initial crisis, and then somewhere almost simultaneous to this, or very quickly thereafter, we have the kind of what we call phase 2, wherein we may still have some things going on over here. We still haven't detailed cleared the whole area. Not 100% what we would call code 4, but fire, we're going to be bringing fire department personnel in, medical personnel to extract wounded. Then we're going to detail clear. We're going to detail clear from top to bottom. There will be nothing left unturned. When we leave this place, we will call it code 4. It is code 4. We have taken care of every single bad guy that's in here. To that end, as Herb said, we will be knocking on your door. We will be looking to detail clear that room. We will maybe ask you further questions. But you will know. We're not going to leave you completely stranded forevermore. You will know. And as I said before, the other question was asked, how do you know it's us? Well, if you have that question mark, get on the phone, call the station.
Before we leave, every lock
Before we leave, every lock will be unlocked in your facility, and we will look in every single room. Even if those rooms were locked prior to this incident going on, we're going to check every single room, every nook and cranny before we leave. So everybody will know, believe me, when it's done, you will know.
We will have also accounted for, with your administration, all students, all faculty, everybody will be accounted for. That's also part of the overall cleanup, if you will, finalization of this whole thing. There was one other question.
All campuses are locked down. Does that mean once there is an active shooter on campus that those gates should be unlocked so that kids can get away with their games?
Should the gates be unlocked when there is, no. Okay, what's going to happen typically when something bad happens on campus, the school gets locked down. It gets locked down until law enforcement gets there. Law enforcement gets there, and they're going to cover every exit that there is on the campus. And the initial wave of law enforcement that comes in is going to come in and go after dealing with what the problem is. The people that follow on are going to cover all those different exits, whether they're locked or not. Whether they're locked or not, there's going to be somebody there at one of those exits or near one of those exits watching the outer perimeter of the school or facility or whatever it might be. Okay, so there's really no need for somebody to run out there and unlock any gates or go out and lock gates. Absolutely. Got it. Wow. Okay, so what you're telling me is you're in prison. You're in the yard. Okay, got it. Okay, in that particular instance, you probably, if you know the gunfire is coming from over there, and I can go get out that exit over on the opposite side, yeah, go. Absolutely go. Or if, again, this all depends on your prior planning. Okay, you are going to have to sit down at each one of your individual facilities, or walk around your individual facilities and determine, okay, who needs to have a key for this? Am I going to have security personnel with keys for this? Or is it going to be locked up in the administrator's office? What's going to be locked? What's going to be open? Okay, these are all prior planning things that you need to know. And if, like Jim said, if you're close to a classroom and you know that you can secure yourself in there, then do that. We're not telling you that you have to run off the facility. We're telling you run away from the gunfire and get yourself to a safe place where maybe you can secure yourself. Okay?
Do you all have keys? No. Not all of them. Some do, some don't. Maybe some knows.
Okay, that ice box, portable incident box, I mean, it's a good place to put some extra keys. Yes, ma'am. Last question. Somebody over here have a question? No? Okay, last one.
So, as a school district, we have our plan of procedure for lockdown and drills, evacuation drills. That's just a suggestion, not a question. I would like to see, like the sheriff's department's process and the school district's process somehow mixed together, so that way we're both on the understanding. Because what it seems like is that there's a plan for you guys and there's a plan for us, but for those plans to both work together.
It's not mutual.
Yeah.
I got what you're saying. Okay, I worked, to quickly answer that question, I worked Carson for 23 years. And when bad things started happening, we actually sent our community relations deputies out to all of the schools and got plans. We got the maps, plans for all the schools. We know where all the keys are. We know how to get in. We know how to get out. And that's something that we had to do cooperatively with the school district, LA Unified School District in Carson. I agree with what you're saying. Temple should be here talking to you guys, and I'm sure they probably have already sent some personnel out to the school to find out, hey, we need to know this information just in case. Just in case. And if the law enforcement agency in your area has not contacted you, you can call them and say, hey, can you guys come over and do an assessment here at our school and walk through with us and determine, okay, how, maybe give us ideas on how we can lock our classes down. Okay, what do we need to have in this particular area? Do we need to have items in this area so that they're common access stuff that we might need to be able to get to, unlock gates, unlock doors, whatever the case might be. Call your local agency and have them come down and do that assessment with you. Senator, cover what you want to talk about? Great. Yeah, on behalf of the Sheriff's Department, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I'm sure Jim thanks everybody for coming.
We do thank you both for the insights and things you gave us today. We do meet regularly with the Temple Sheriff's Department. We talk about those things. They have plans to discuss with the administrators. You do need to talk about your sites and coordinate some things with them. If there are any special questions that need to go district-wide, make sure you give it to your administrator so they give it to us as a team. And when we have our quarterly meetings with the Sheriff's Department and our debriefs on today, we can discuss it some more. Thank you very much. Directions. Elementary, maintenance staff, Mr. Gottlieb staff, please leave as quickly as you can off back to that direction so that we can move into